I'm tired, you guys. I'm tired of being the bearer of bad news. I'm tired of seeing people I care about being hurt. I'm tired of having to make terrible videos like this one. I'm tired of being tired all the time. But if I don't face this head on right now, I'm not going to find the motivation to move forward, I don't think. This is unfortunately tied for the hardest video I've ever had to make, and it comes only less than half a year after the first hardest video I ever had to make. But here it is. My mother, about a couple weeks ago, committed suicide. And that is a combination of words I never thought I would ever utter in my lifetime. That's about the last sentence I thought I would ever have to say. My mom didn't know a single enemy. She was, by everyone's account, the nicest, most happy-go-lucky, joyful person that they ever met. She was always stoked with whatever you were doing. She was the mom to all my friends. You know, they are just as devastated as I am. I cannot overstate how shocking and unexpected this was for everyone, especially me. We just had dinner together the night before, like everything was normal. The worst thing I could maybe conjure up is everyone was maybe a little melancholish just from bad weather and tired of it getting dark so soon all the time, but that's just the way it is in this state. I definitely would not have chalked her up as being capable of this. Even my father, who lived with her 24/7, there was no classic signs of, oh, maybe this world would be better without me, or this item is really important to me, I want you to have it. None of that shit happened. None of the cliche crap that you're taught to look out for occurred here. So if you get nothing else out of this video, I hope at the very least you can take away maybe a few pieces of information that could potentially help you with loved ones that might be going through something similar, and to keep an eye out on things because you don't ever truly know. And with that said, I think it's appropriate for me to say out loud, I am not suicidal. I have no thoughts of self-harm or anything of the sort. Again, 2 weeks ago, I never thought I would have to say that out loud ever, but I think it's appropriate right now. I hope to be around for a long time. There's still a lot of things I want to do. It is devastating that I have to do it without now two of the people that I've loved more than anything, but can't quit now. You know, neither one of them would want me to. And I think it's also appropriate to say that because of some of the things that I've especially come to learn in the past couple of weeks in dealing with this aftermath, because not only did my mother not have the easiest childhood, neither of my parents did for that fact, which makes it a fucking miracle that I am where I am and that I had such a great childhood, and credit goes 100% to both of them for that happening. Beyond that, my mom had to watch her mother, my grandmother, go through the final stages of lung cancer about 3 years ago at this point, and it's not a pretty way to go. No cancer is, to be fair, but that being the first major personal loss in her life, I know it played on her mind for months and months. She was very much the kind of person that I was not a strong word in her vocabulary. You know, it was also always, what are you doing? What do you like? How's your kids? This, that, and the other. She never really was receptive to talking about herself. And I think a lot of that spawned from her upbringing, where you didn't talk about yourself. And if you just didn't talk about things, shit would go away magically, or low self-esteem issues, all these things I could potentially attribute this to. But whatever the case, I don't think she ever fully resolved that loss and the trauma from that whole experience. She also had the misfortune, of course, of being there with me when my girlfriend Sabrina died. I know what it did to me. You know, I know the mental trauma that has caused. So I know for a fact, as close as they were, especially the first couple of summers that we were together, that had to have been detrimental to her as well. Potentially the last straw on the camel's back, though, was yet again something else I didn't know until 2 weeks ago, is that she was pretty much diagnosed with breast cancer. It wasn't 100% confirmed, but there was a large mass found that probably at this stage in the game wasn't deadly, but something would have had to been done within the next year or so. And that uncertainty, not knowing results for at least another 6 months after a follow-up, and being biopsied and going through all of that hell, I know must have been torturous to a certain extent. And then in the back of her head, there's no way she wasn't also thinking about the shit that she saw with her mother. With all this happening, she's a menopausal age woman, so like a lot of them, she was on hormone replacement therapy to some extent with, estrogen and progesterone, I believe is the one. Not uncommon at all, but with the discovery of this mass, they had her stop cold turkey. Not once, but twice, going back and forth between different doctors and stuff. Now, I'm no expert on this, obviously, but I know how stupid men get, teenage boys get, when testosterone is high. So I can't imagine ramping up on these large doses of hormones and then coming down to a dead zero crash is good for your mental stability. I don't think they made a bad call because those kind of hormones do feed certain types of cancers. But the fact that there was never any suggestion for maybe some kind of, antidepressant or some supplement to chill the fuck out with is kind of mind-blowing in hindsight. I don't blame doctors here. You don't know, right? But just throwing that out there. So with all that context, we can only really wager what was going through her head in those last couple of minutes. And I say minutes because not hours beforehand, my dad thought it was a normal day. Working from home, rode around in a convertible, ate dinner together. Seemed like it was going to be just another regular old Tuesday morning. And that's why I'm not angry with her at all. I'm not spiteful. I'm not even sad for myself because I know who she was. She would never do a thing to put my father or I through any kind of pain. She would march, alone into hell if it meant saving us. And that's why I know the mind that decided to take my mother's life was not her own. This was not the person that people knew. This was not the friend or the almost second mother that all my friends had. And that's why more than anything, I grieve for her, whatever was happening in those last few weeks. I cannot imagine what she was going through. And I'm just beside myself that she couldn't get help. Moreover, I grieve for my dad more than anything because I've unfortunately had the past 4 months to go through what he's about to go through. And it sucks. It still doesn't seem real to me that I'm living in this place that I came to for the person that I was living with, and she's not around anymore. And my dad has 30 plus more years of history of that. I can't imagine it. I can only offer what little wisdom I've garnered through these past few months with this experience, and it's something that a kid should never be having to tell their parents, ever. And it should be the other way around. And it shouldn't be at this age, no matter what the situation. But this is the one we find ourselves in. With that, I just hope she's at peace with whatever's out there. And for whatever reason, I do truly feel that she's okay. Maybe it's just a relief of knowing that whatever caused all this to happen in the first place can't be ailing her anymore. And I just want us all to remember her the way that she was. And I think that is exactly what she wanted. Not necessarily in this way, but I will not have any memories of her being old. You know, she'll always be the beautiful mom that all the other moms were jealous of. The chef, you know, making me and my dumbass friends the best meatless spaghetti. She was a hell of a cook too, though. Make some really cool, like, Middle Eastern and Italian-inspired stuff. I've got a handwritten recipe list from her that I will fight to the death over, especially now. Her and my dad had been all over the Gulf of Mexico and all over the country, really. One trip, she was carrying me as a fetus, as it were. And many of the other trips we did together, it was fantastic. She came to see me multiple times. Living in Ohio, had a lot of good memories from that. Before she broke her leg a couple years ago, she would water ski while I wakeboarded. And I have literally hundreds of great memories of, you know, going to the lake together and me taking the helm on the boat when she'd get too nervous because there was wake coming, or me and Dad coming back in from a hunt, unsuccessful or successful, and, you know, she'd have food waiting for us and always be there to hang with the guys if we were out in the garage with the wood stove burning, which would inevitably turn into, you know, 6+ beers later of us talking about nonsense. But those were the times. I think there's a quote out there that says, "You never know when you're in the good old days till they're already gone." So here's to Cynthia, and she would be getting a good kick out of me drinking a summer shandy in the middle of December. Hell of a wife, amazing mother, great homemaker, fucking Disney princess when it came to dogs. I don't know what it was with her and furry animals. They just, some cosmological connection there. I don't have a bad memory about the woman. No ill feelings whatsoever. Neither does anybody else that knew her. To Mom, I love you. Which is what made this whole thing so shocking for everybody. No one could have saw this coming. And there's so many people I could think of in my life that's like, you know, bless their heart kind of thing, but I wouldn't be that shocked. It would be terrible, but for her to make that decision, it still doesn't seem real that I'm even talking about this. So I hope, if nothing else, what you get out of this video is, if you have anyone in your life where any of these things sound familiar, whether it's hormone treatments or an illness scare or somebody that you have zero suspicions of, that is always happy-go-lucky and is a positive energy in your life, check up on them. Because just because something looks that way on the outside doesn't mean it's reflected that way on the inside. And that's why I never suspected anything. And, you know, I know people close to her have beat themselves up already about saying, "Oh my God, like, why didn't I see anything? Couldn't I have helped her?" It's like, you know, you can't do anything in some of these scenarios. It's just, it happens so fast. But that doesn't detract from the importance of getting people to talk and having someone to talk to. And she was one of those people that wasn't very receptive to it. And I could say that sympathetically because, in this case, empathetically, because I'm one of those people, and not because I was ever taught that. If anything, I was taught the opposite because my parents didn't want to instill, you know, that bad legacy, that bad behavior into their child. And so it's not like I ever felt like there was, I was in a scenario or environment where that wasn't permitted or that it was frowned upon. It's just, I think I'm boring. I don't like talking about myself. This kind of video is the absolute worst nightmare for me, having to be this personal, because I like stuff. I like ideas. You want to talk about astronomy and, you know, a quasar? Cool, let's do that. You want to talk about the circuit topology of, you know, a hot rodded amplifier? Let's do that. You want to talk about direct versus port injection on a car engine? Cool. You want to talk about me and, you know, misgivings about certain memories in childhood or whatever. Hell no. That's just, it's not comfortable for me. And it's my own shit. You know, it's no one else's fault. And I think I get some of that from her. I think I get a lot of things from her. I certainly get a lot of my temperaments from her when it comes to being calm and collected. And I can only hope to inherit a fraction of that light that she brought to everyone else's life. I don't think it's an obtainable goal, but what a way to be remembered. As for me, what this means going forward, I don't know. There's a ton of uncertainty in all this, and I don't mean financially. I'm fine. If I wasn't, I'd have no business having the gear I do in this room or a less than 2-year-old car out in the driveway. That'd be insane. But uncertainty in terms of what the fuck do I want to do now? You know, this whole time when it comes to my selection in jobs, where I was living, it all had to do with, well, I want to build this life with this person. I want to be able to go see these people or do these things unimpeded. And so the status quo was kind of like, okay, well, I got a vehicle I don't really trust going to and from work all the time. Let me get a reliable car that will last me for a long time. Okay, got that paid off. That's done. Now let's save for the house we want. I'm in that stage and everything's kind of fallen to shit in the past 4 months. I love where I work. I don't love where I work, but as far as work goes, I like my job and I love my team. I don't want for that to change, but it's in the opposite direction of where my father lives. And if anything, I at one point was planning on moving towards there, not away. And I certainly can't move any further away and realistically drive to and from every day. I'm pushing 2 hours in the car a day as is. And this is certainly not something I've even discussed with family. But there are these uncertainties in my head about not only what makes sense logistically, it's what do I even want to do? And quite frankly, I don't really know. At this point, I'm doing what I know how to do, doing the things that make me fulfilled, satisfied, pacified even. In truth, I've had zero motivation to work on anything that has to do with the channel. I've been playing a decent amount of guitar, not as much as I usually would, and most of that's just been to fiddle with these Fractal Audio presets, the Gifts of Tone, which are awesome. But in terms of musical output and creativity, not really feeling it. And I guess who could blame me at this point? I've found a lot of focus and joy in revisiting some of my favorite video games, especially like The Witcher 3. Just got a next-gen update. I don't know what it is about that world really just sucks you in and kind of makes you forget about life for a while. That kind of stuff I'm certain about. But as far as real life goes, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to bring. All I do know is that within the next few weeks, you're not going to be hearing from me much. I'll probably work on the next thing sporadically in the background. But until I once again claw myself out of this situation and get back to some sense of normalcy, I'm just going to take it easy for a little bit. I think at this point, I need to. Just thinking about from an outsider's perspective looking in, I feel okay. I feel kind of empty and kind of numb to all this at this point. And I think a lot of that is a self-defense mechanism because I've been through this back to back. I know at this point I probably need to talk to somebody. And I've heard it from multiple people, and both my dad and I will look into that after the New Year's and some shit calms down, because it's, for me personally, wouldn't do really much good right now because it's still not even fucking real. So I think giving it some time to cool off and start to really process will be the better use of our time. But we're going to get some help over this, and we have more than enough people, too many people that want to help do anything, whether it's make us food or just be a shoulder to cry on. So I'm grateful for them too. We have a lot of great people in our life, and you can't put a price on that. So with that, Plague Sci Studios once again will go on. It has to. I want it to. Pacing of videos is definitely going to slow down for a little while. Besides the holidays, already feeling not so fucking merry this year with too many people out of my life. My birthday month is January as well, and I feel no motivation to celebrate, obviously. So until those milestones are passed and I can kind of clear that mental fog, I don't foresee myself working on a lot of this stuff around here. So that is the unfortunate reality I find myself in. So just gonna need a little bit of time to figure some of this shit out or come to terms with the fact that I can't and I need help. And that's okay too. As long as something moves forward, I'm okay with it. I hope you guys had a better year than I did. And I look forward to the calendar rolling over because this one cannot end fast enough. I got a lot of good memories that I hope one day I can look back on without being tainted by some of the past few months. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me all these years. And one more time to Cynthia and Sabrina. Cheers.